Hi everyone. Yesterday, many of you called us and asked us to keep our focus on last-minute airfares that have reached levels that can only be described as ridiculous. You asked us not to scrap the story under any pressure. Dear viewers, let me assure you that we bow to only two kinds of pressure here on Mirror Now. One, from our conscience, and the second from you. Your concerns, your issues are the pole star, the guiding light of our coverage. So for a third day today, we are opening up our phone lines to speak to you, to hear from you. Today, the Civil Aviation Ministry took some tough questions from us. You will hear from Mr. Sindhya in just a bit. The government today is also telling us that in the last 48 hours or so, fares for last-minute bookings have come down. Now, the chart they've put out in their briefing was a bit complicated, so I've simplified it for you. In case you want to see the entire chart, please refer to their website. Now, one of the examples that the Aviation Ministry quotes, it's on your screens, is the Delhi-Mumbai route. I'm talking about the Delhi-Mumbai route because it is one of the busiest in India. They say between today and yesterday's spot booking, fares have dropped 15%. From 22,000 to 19,000. This is the average that I'm giving you. Now, this is what the government is saying, that our intervention has actually helped. We did a check as well. We looked at the flights we had highlighted yesterday to see if fares have actually gone down today. This is what we found. Delhi to Bangalore, again, one of India's busiest routes. A Vistara economy ticket for today, when we looked yesterday, was between 25,000 to 49,000. We looked yesterday, as I told you, for today because we are talking only about spot booking. If I book a flight today for tomorrow, the range is between 21,000 to 49,000. Again, so essentially, while minimum prices have gone down, the maximum price hasn't. Yesterday, we had also looked at Mumbai-Leh. Again, Vistara. Yesterday's fares were 60,000 rupees one way. Today's fares are 60,000 rupees one way, which means there has been no change. So if you look at all the data that has been put out by the ministry, yes, last-minute fares have gone down marginally, but are certainly not at a point where they don't cause passenger pain. If you remember, yesterday a caller from Pune had told us he paid 72,000 rupees for a two-way ticket from Delhi to Pune. What justifies it? How is it possible for a ticket that would normally cost 12,000 rupees maximum go up to 70,000 if you book it last minute? This is loot, this is extortion, and this is where we want the government to step in. And by stepping in, I don't just mean the government giving airlines advice to self-regulate. Why will airlines self-regulate when they are profit-driven? They have a business to run. It's the government that needs to step in and protect India's middle class by either capping maximum fares or at least ensuring that airlines fly all the flights that they have committed to in their summer roster, which they aren't. We asked the aviation minister exactly this. When airlines have committed to flying 3,272 flights per day, why are they only flying 2,800? This is peak season. Why would they cut down on their flights? Obviously, there will be a shortage, and therefore, obviously, rates will soar. This is what the minister has said. Listen in.
At this point of time, all planes that are possibly being able to fly are flying in the air across all airlines. And we are, in fact, it's a very strange situation where for 3 years we had all planes on the ground and no passengers, and today we do not have enough planes to cater to the needs of our passengers. And the reason why that is the case is not because airlines don't want to expand, but because there's a supply chain problem across the world. And airplane manufacturers are not being able to churn out planes fast enough to be able to supply to the airlines. So it's almost like the pendulum has swung completely the other way, where you had just capacity lying on the ground and now you don't have enough capacity to put in the air. So, and this is a global problem. So we are also trying to urge the airplane manufacturers to be able to supply planes as soon as possible.
Okay, fine. Of the 700 commercial planes in India, about 100 are grounded for various reasons. But what explains SpiceJet flying only 52% of its capacity, as Jitendra Bhargav has been repeatedly pointing out? Today, we also asked the minister why the government cannot step in to cap maximum fares when they're simply out of control. Listen to what he said.
So one question, you've mentioned this in interviews and you've said this right now as well. You've said that aviation is a deregulated sector and rightly so. But we've seen in the past when there have been emergency situations like COVID, your predecessor in the same government announced price bands and price buckets for certain sectors and all of this was voted for. So my question is this, that even after this meeting, if you could feel that the prices still continue to be high, what is the next step forward? Because, I mean, this is also in the spirit of Sushashan and Garib Kalyan, because people last minute, those who need to travel, for instance, as we've seen in Balasore, for absolutely important reasons, you know, they are the ones who are suffering.
But I will say this, that I am very clear that even though that this is a deregulated sector, certainly fare rises due to exceptional circumstances, such as the routes that I mentioned and specifically the cities that I mentioned, where those 315 routes that were being plied are no longer being plied, and we have replaced them with 68 in those very cities. But nevertheless, there is excess demand there, but we must make sure that the maximum prices are within a certain limit, and we have conveyed that message very clearly to the airlines. And as far as extenuating circumstances, it is completely unacceptable if prices go to that high. I will also say this, that pricing, and you must also keep this in mind, has to be measured on multiple metrics. So if I book a ticket, for example, a month in advance, you'll probably get it at the lowest level. But if I want to fly today or tomorrow, it will be probably at the highest level based on that algorithm. But that algorithm also must have a limit, and that message has been conveyed very, very clearly by us. As far as price bands are concerned, you have very rightfully said that those were instituted during COVID. But please also do remember that COVID was an exceptional circumstance. Never before in the history of the world have you had 700 planes sitting on the ground with no passenger on any of them. And at the same time, airlines having to pay the least cost on every single plane. On the other hand, those that need to be travel also need to be protected in terms of the pricing that they need to be paying. And therefore, predatory pricing or extensive pricing should certainly be disallowed. And that's why the price band came in. In a situation where the market determines the price, I do not think that in a deregulated sector one can look at that option. But as I mentioned, the message has been sent very clearly that we cannot have prices that are way beyond what should rationally be done. Specifically when we have certain instances take place, such as the Go First situation or other calamities or extenuating circumstances, airlines must be proactive in terms of monitoring their prices as opposed to being reactive after the ministry or DGCA steps in, because that should also be a part of their social objective. And that message has been conveyed very clearly.
Okay, as the story plays out in India, the world of aviation has gathered in Turkey for its biggest conclave. This is where Akasa CEO has said, and I quote, "India is one of the best airfare regimes in the world. They are the most customer-friendly in the world." He also says that gouging is unacceptable. What is gouging? Gouging essentially is jacking up prices to take advantage of a situation, something that happened when Manipur was burning and something that happened in Odisha as well when the train accident took place. Again, I say, we reached out to private airlines once again to hear from them. SpiceJet, Akasa, Air India, they've all declined to either come on the show or to make a comment about the maximum prices that we are having to pay if we are booking last minute. Let me go across to our reporters who are joining us from various airports across this country, because this is where passengers are and this is where passengers are speaking to them as well. At the Chennai airport, we have Dharani. At the Bangalore airport, we have Neha Hebale. And at the Delhi airport, we have Tejshri. Again, some of the busiest airports in this country. I'm coming to you first, Neha, in Bangalore. Go ahead, speak to people, because, again, a lot of people will quickly look at, will quickly Google air prices and say, Kaha, why are you showing the prices are so high when they are not so high? The fact is that prices are dynamic. And when we check, we don't check from an aggregator, we check from the website of an airline, and we see what the maximum is and what the minimum is, and we are putting those prices on air. Those prices can, of course, vary through the day because, as I said, airline prices are dynamic. Anyway, Neha, go ahead. Tell us what people are telling you.
Yes, Shreya, in fact, we just managed to speak to quite a few people, just seconds before this live, and what they went on to tell us is that, of course, airfares are really high. I'm going to try and speak here to one passenger who seems to have just arrived. Hi, sir, if I could just trouble you for 1 second. We're seeing today that airfare prices, are soaring through the roof. It's not something that we've made up. The aviation ministry, of course, has admitted to it. I see you with a suitcase here. How heavy was this on your pocket?
It's approximately 6K.
Okay.
Yeah, but air prices have increased significantly.
Okay.
Maybe Go First crisis. That's the reason.
Okay.
So where Go First is operating on those routes, fare prices have increased significantly.
Okay, so some of the busiest routes that we're seeing, Delhi, Bangalore, for example, and a couple of others also, of course, we're seeing prices going up to almost 20,000. Do you think the government is doing enough to, regulate this?
No. There is no regulation.
Okay.
Mr. Sindhu has already said this.
Okay.
There is no regulation on fare prices from government side.
Okay.
Actually.
You think more should be done?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay. All right, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Shreya, of course, that was one passenger who managed to get away with a lucky 6,000, if I could call it that here. Of course, it's considerably much lower. We'll try and, of course, try and speak to a couple of more passengers over here if we can. We, do, of course, seem to have just entered a bus where a couple of passengers are ready to head home. Hi, ma'am, if I can ask you today, we're seeing airfare prices are really soaring through the roof. Some of the busiest routes today, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai and a couple of other places also are becoming really expensive. Tickets are going up to almost 40,000 also for some locations. How has your travel been? How expensive have your tickets been?
I don't know English now, that is why I am very sorry.
No, it's all right, ma'am, it's all right.
नहीं इंग्लिश हिंदी में क्या पूछना चाह रही हैं आप?
मैम एयरफेयर्स बहुत ज्यादा हो गए हैं आज बहुत लोकेशन है जैसे कि दिल्ली बैंगलोर आप देखेंगे तो ऑलमोस्ट मतलब 30,000 40,000 तक भी जा रहे हैं टिकट्स आपको क्या लगता है कि सरकार काफी कर रहे हैं मतलब रेगुलेट करने के लिए प्राइसेस को
देखिए कंट्रोल करने के लिए कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा वो किस परिस्थिति में कर रहे हैं वो मुझे जानकारी नहीं है इसकी
जी आप कहाँ से आ रहे हैं अभी आप
बॉम्बे से आ रहे हैं
अच्छा आपने काफी दिया होगा टिकट के लिए
नहीं मैंने कम दिया
ओके ठीक है मैम आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे हम
मैं भी दिल्ली से आ रही हूँ मेरी भी सस्ती थी टिकट
अच्छा मैम दिल्ली बैंगलोर के तो अगर हम आज अभी चेक कर रहे हैं मतलब टिकट्स ऑलमोस्ट 30,000 तक जा रहे हैं काफी दोनों इनफैक्ट काफी बिजी डेस्टिनेशंस है दोनों तो आपको लगता है कि कुछ करना चाहिए और सरकार को एटलीस्ट पैसेंजर्स को थोड़ा रिलीफ मिले ताकि
पैसेंजर्स यदि पहले से प्लान करके यदि चलते हैं तब तो सस्ते ही हैं टिकट यदि आप ऐसे करंट टिकट यदि लेना चाहेंगे तो फेयर वाकई में बहुत ज्यादा है उसके लिए जरूर कुछ किया जाना चाहिए इमरजेंसी में ट्रैवल करने के लिए वाकई में कुछ सस्ता तो होना चाहिए
जी ओके थैंक यू Shreya, of course you heard from two passengers there. We'll try and get in a word from one more person here if we can just before we wrap this up. Sir, hi, if I can just trouble you for 1 second. We're talking to passengers today about the rising airfares. I want to ask you, two of the busiest locations in the country today, Delhi, Bangalore, tickets are soaring to almost 40,000. I want to ask you, how is this affecting flyers today?
Ma'am, I just came from Udaipur, so I don't have any idea about this actually.
Okay. But overall, sir, when we're taking a scenario of, airfares, they are going up considerably. I'm sure, at some point you've been witness to it as well. Do you think the government should do enough? Is enough being done for flyers today by the government?
No, I don't think so because I am traveling from last 4 years and it's actually soaring up like prices and all. I don't see any regulation or anything came from government side for this thing. So.
Okay.
We are paying the price, so I don't think I never heard of any scheme also like government is introducing something for customers and all.
Okay. Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Shreya, of course, it does seem to be a similar scenario here. Thankfully, many of the passengers, who've actually flown to Delhi, most of them echoed the fact that, either their travels have been well planned in advance or the fact that, many of them, in fact, have been lucky to just get away. We have one more passenger here, sir. मैं अगर एक सेकंड आपसे बात कर सकती हूँ, आज हम देख सकते हैं कि एयरफेयर्स पूरे भारत में काफी बढ़ रहा है. It's going up across the country. Airfares are soaring. आपको क्या लगता है कि आज कुछ करना चाहिए, मतलब सरकार को इंटरवीन करना चाहिए, एयरलाइंस को कुछ रेगुलेट करना चाहिए?
Yeah, I think government should do and just take according to the protocols and all. So yeah, they should take advisable steps. So I think so. Yeah, they should do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. There you go, Shreya. Of course, this has largely been a campaign, of course, for the flyers, and we're going to keep at that. Unfortunate that even, as of course you were pointing out earlier, the prices seem to have reduced, as far as the lower end is concerned, very marginally. But we'll really have to wait and see as to when flyers get some respite from these soaring prices.
Okay. So you've just heard from flyers there, and most of the flyers that Neha has spoken to are ones who have booked their tickets well in advance. So the prices there are completely irrational. What we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I just want to reiterate this, are spot prices. Today, if I want to book a ticket for Bangalore or for Chennai or for Mumbai, how much am I paying? I'm paying a price that is simply not justified, and that is what this entire campaign is about. This is not a campaign for to lower fares of airlines. Not at all. It's not a campaign about that, because India, as I said, has one of the best airline prices and fare regimes in the world. So that's not what we are talking about. What we are talking about is that predatory pricing comes in when there is spot booking. For example, today, if I book a ticket tomorrow from Mumbai to Leh, the price is 60,000. What justifies this? That's the point and the limited point that we are trying to make. Let me go across to Dharani, who is joining us from the Chennai airport. Dharani, over to you.
No problem. Don't worry. No problem.
Dharani, can you hear me? Hi, good evening. You can't hear anything. Okay, we'll try and patch Dharani as well. Techri, you're with us. Okay. Dharani, go ahead. If you have people with you, please go ahead and get their voices in.
Well, of course, right now I'm standing in the Chennai International Airport, and when we try talking to several passengers, from today morning, they're given to understand that the prices, especially for Delhi, from Chennai to Delhi, it's been very high. In fact, right now I'm being joined by a passenger here. He even has a suitcase here, sir. Where are you coming from? And, we're given to understand that for the past 1 month, the airfares, they've been like skyrocketing. And have you experienced anything of that sort personally?
Yeah. It's been quite a few, I would say a couple of months now since the time SpiceJet and Go First had some issues. And in fact, day before I was in Bangalore, I just went to Delhi, had some urgent work, and I'm coming today to Chennai. And yes, we are all facing the heat from the high fares. And they are all big corporate groups who are running these big airlines. And they are trying to maximize the shareholder value, but they should also look at the people who are traveling. They should because the fares have gone up by maybe 4 times, 5 times. I mean, yesterday I was thinking of going back to Bangalore, but the economy class ticket was costing on a Vistara flight 40,000. So 40,000 one way. So I had my ticket booked from Bangalore to Chennai, but that went waste. And I came from Delhi back to Chennai, which again was a 20,000 ticket, which is not, fine. We are paying last minute, but it pinches.
What do you think the government should do? Because they've been holding meeting after meeting, but then nothing concrete is coming out of it. No actual, impact is being seen in the prices. The price, decrease.
I think you don't need to tell the government what to do. They know very well how the prices should be monitored or can be monitored. So I hope some good sense will prevail and things will happen.
So he is of the opinion that the government actually knows what they should do and maybe they should do it soon is what he is telling. And definitely when we try talking to several passengers since today morning, the opinion has been the same. They want the government to, to look at what the end consumer is facing at the moment because of these high fare prices.
Okay. Okay, let me quickly go across to Tejshri, who is joining us in Delhi, and then I go across to my guests. Apologies to our guests keeping them waiting, but it's important right now to hear from the citizens of this country, people who are being asked to pay 40,000 rupees for a ticket from Chennai to Bangalore. So it's important to hear from them as well. Tejshri, go ahead, please. Good evening.
Yeah, well, you see that there has been an unexpected rise from the flights from Delhi to Mumbai, Delhi to Bangalore, and right now I'm present at the Delhi airport where I have one of the passenger who is also taking a domestic flight. Where are you going?
We are heading to Bangalore.
You're heading to Bangalore, and when did you book your flight?
It was like 1 week back.
1 week back, and how much did it cost you?
Around 6,000.
6,000. But now, as of now, if we see back 2-3 days back, how do you feel that the price are really pinching because they are going upwards? Say it be 40,000, 20,000, and even somewhere price are also 80,000.
Yeah, it might be, but I don't know the reason. So,
do you think that it is very heavy on the if it is a common man, it is very heavy on its
it's heavy on the common man or like middle class. So it's heavy for the passengers. I think it has to be looked into. It has to be solved.
Because normally the prices are ranges between 6,000 to 8,000. Now there is a sudden rise to 80,000 also.
Yeah, I don't know the reason, but they have to look into it, and government has to come into and they have to take some decision on the price to make it low.
All right. So here was one of the passenger traveling from Delhi to Bangalore, in fact. And here I would like to give you a view about how the situation over here is at the airport. Because when we saw that when there was this counter booking, the counter booking prices were also high because Delhi to Mumbai, which is one of the busiest routes in India, is witnessing spot fare touching rupees 20,000, and other routes are also in fact touching the sky as far as the prices are concerned, because tickets were booked in advance are also soaring. The surge is within limits, but spot fare is something which is actually a matter of concern of the people, and that is what people who came here told us.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Tejshri. We've heard from the citizens. Let's hear from the experts as well. Parvez Damania is an aviation expert with us on the broadcast. Saurabh Sinha is a senior editor at Times of India, tracks aviation. And Manan Bajoria is VP Growth at IXO. Thank you very much for joining us, all three of you. Manan, I do believe that you have to log off, so I'll quickly come to you. Thank you very much for waiting, and thank you all, gentlemen, for your patience. Can I ask you, Manan, the point is, we are not talking about airfares that have been booked a month in advance, 15 days in advance. We are talking about airfares, which relate to spot booking. For example, if today I have to book a ticket for Bangalore or for Chennai, I'll be paying a crazy amount. Does any explanation that we have heard so far explain or justify the prices that airlines are asking for right now?
Make this point very clear. There was a time when the middle class, the lower middle class, would dream of taking a flight. It was their dream. Now, today, we see even the middle class, lower middle class taking flights. Now, the airlines are absolutely right. And this is exactly what I have said. People who can afford 30,000 for flying from Aurangabad to Delhi, Aurangabad to Mumbai, is a normal 6,000, 7,000 rupee fare, maximum 7,000 rupee fare. And today it's being sold for 18,000 rupees. What is the logic? So airlines are absolutely...
Oops, have we lost Manan there?
Yeah. So I was
Guys,
saying,
can you tell me if we've lost Manan there? Manan, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so there's a huge demand-supply mismatch that's causing this, right? And even for spot fares, it's dependent on sector. So Delhi to Mumbai, there's a huge demand, supply is same on the lesser side, and we are seeing fares, spot fares touching 20K. But if you look at Mumbai, Delhi, same number of planes fly that route as well. The spot fares are just 5,000 rupees, right? The same thing we are seeing on Delhi, Hyderabad. So for some reason, the demand from Delhi is way higher versus the supply that we have, which is leading to spot fares touching through the roof. But on the reverse sector, Hyderabad, Delhi spot fare is again 6,000. So it's all about demand supply right now, which is basically you have summer vacation and a lot of other factors. Obviously, there's go first factor that is there on some routes, which has led to some capacity constraints. But yeah, so it's at the end of the day, it's an airline algorithm that's pricing it, and if there are just 5% seats left on a particular sector, the fares go through the roof. If there's 50% seats left on that sector, the fares are very low.
But my point is that there is a limit to airfare soaring. There is a limit, right? Even if you tell me, here's the point. From Mumbai to Leh, even if you tell me, ki bhai, there are only 2 seats left or 3 seats left on a particular flight, and I'm talking about the Vistara flight, what justifies a 60,000 rupee ticket, Manan?
Yeah, I think
60,000 rupees.
That's one thing. Yeah, I think that's one thing that airlines and like our honorable minister told as well, right? Matlab, there should be some sort of a upper limit to any seat or any route, right? It should not just be abnormally high so that it becomes out of reach for majority of the people out there. There has to be a max cap attached to any route, even if it is the last seat on the airplane. But yeah, that's something that airlines basically need to do at their end.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about airfares that are reasonable, that have been booked well in advance, etc. As Akasa Air's CEO today has pointed out, in Turkey, we do have one of the best fare regimes. But what one simply can't explain or understand or accept is these crazy last minute prices that we are having to fly. And who flies last minute? Most Indians, are financially very wise. If I need to fly, I'll at least plan 15 days or a month in advance, so I get the best prices. When you fly, say, when you have to fly the next day, this is an emergency flight that you're taking. Maybe there's a medical reason. Maybe something has happened to your child. Maybe something has happened to your parents. Maybe there's been a train accident in Odisha. Maybe a state in India like Manipur is burning. In a situation like that, when you have tickets from Imphal to Delhi, go up to 50,000 rupees economy one way, there is a problem. And you can't simply dismiss it by saying, ki, Are, ye to algorithm ne kiya hai. Can I just get in Saurabh Sinha here as well? Saurabh Sinha, we've heard from the minister today. He's again said, essentially, I've done what I could. This is a deregulated sector, and I can only tell airlines what to do. I can't force them to do anything. Fact is that there has been a cap on maximum and minimum fares that has been imposed by the government of India during COVID. The government and the aviation ministry have done it in the past. What is stopping them from doing it right now when maximum fares have become such a big talking point and such a big pain point, as it were, for passengers?
See, these fare buckets have been in place at least since 2007-8. There was a similar situation in 2007 or 8 when fares had gone crazily high. And at that time, the DGCA had asked airlines to submit their minimum and maximum fares and the buckets from like 100 rupees, 120, 130, 140. You submit your different fare levels for each flight, each route, and airlines submit that. Since then, that's a rule. Now, the upper limit of the fare has always been high. The load factors for which you hit the highest fare would be seen only in peak travel season. This year, there's been a double whammy of Go Air collapsing on May 2, just ahead of the peak travel season. So you had the demand spiking and while you had supply suddenly shrinking. So due to these two factors, airfares have gone up. Yesterday's load factors on all domestic airlines is minimum 90%. Go Air, at least 30,000 people used to fly. Now Go Air is doing something which is not desirable. Every other day it tweets, we have extended our suspension of flights to such and such date. They should not do this. They should declare the date once DGCA approves their resumption of operations from a certain date. Because people are holding Go Air tickets. They are waiting. 30,000 people, they were flying domestic in March. Now, this people buy tickets in advance to get the lowest fares. So there are people still holding Go Air tickets, waiting for the airline to resume operations. But there's no certainty whether their ticket will be, whether their flight will operate or not operate. So these people are also forced to book last-minute fares. So due to these combination of all these factors, this year, the spike in domestic fares has been absolutely crazy. International fares have been very high since the international travel resumed late 2021. Now domestic fares have also joined the party. Fortunately, unfortunately, Air India is no longer state-owned. So when Air India was state-owned, the government had a control on Air India, had an direct control on Air India, but Air India would not charge beyond a certain point. Now, apart from Alliance here, there is no government airline, and the private airlines allow their algorithm to charge whatever fares they are charging right now. So this problem will remain. There's another issue today. Almost 80%, 85% of the airlines in India, Indigo and the Tata Group Airlines, they don't have to drop fares to get cash for meeting their working capital requirements. Otherwise, if you look in the past, when airlines were about to go bust, they come out with sales to garner some cash so that they get some working capital. Today, Tata Group doesn't need to do that. Indigo has enough cash reserve. They don't need to do that. So the era of cheap tickets is, as of now, it seems as of now it's over. Plus, when Jet Airways collapsed, their planes were taken away by Vistara, by SpiceJet, very fairly quickly. In Go First case, they announced suspension of operations on 2nd of May. They approached NCLT on 3rd of May, and then within 5 working days, they got moratorium on the assets in their possession, which means lessors could not repossess their planes, while lessors were already in talk with both Indigo and the Tata Group Airlines to lease their 60 odd aircraft that were with Go First to those airlines. But before they could do that, the moratorium kicked in. So now the planes are stuck with Go Air, 60 planes on ground with Go Air. Airline grounded, 60 planes grounded, 40 planes of Indigo grounded due to Pratt & Whitney engine issues.
This
So
is a
in all,
perfect
out of the
storm.
700 planes in India, 100 planes are grounded. So on the one hand, you are seeing in March
So this
before
is
Go
the
Air
perfect
collapsed.
storm, essentially.
It's a perfect storm. It's the perfect
This is
storm.
the perfect storm you're telling me, essentially. Okay, but point is that there is a reason why we have the government of India, and the DGCA comes under the government of India, and it's supposed to regulate the aviation sector. I mean, is there nothing they can do? I have a point to make, but before I make that point, let me quickly go across to a couple of our viewers who are calling in. We have Rupal who's calling us from Vadodara. Let's go across to her. Rupal, good evening. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. I was watching your show, and I just wanted to say that every time such a thing happens, they just increase. The prices have become so exorbitantly expensive. And what we do is the people believe in, as sometimes Prime Minister says, Aapada mein avsar. So what these people are doing is trying to take advantage of airlines closing down and like Diwali time and all that. So today I was trying to book 3 tickets for me and my parents for Baroda Bangalore return for November. It is costing us almost 49,000 rupees by Indigo. So that's a huge amount, exorbitantly expensive. The government they must cap this issue. They must cap the prices. Only then at one point they say that हवाई चप्पल में लोग यात्रा कर सके इसलिए हम कम भाव रखते हैं. But this is not, like how will people in हवाई चप्पल travel with such fares?
Point. And you said you were booking a ticket from Vadodara to Bangalore for 3 people, right?
Yes, ma'am, for Diwali. I mean, from 8th November till 16th November. I have still not booked it, but just I'm sharing my view on that. I may book it tomorrow or the day after, or maybe after a month. But it's almost costing us, like 45 to 49,000 rupees by Indigo. And my parents, like my father is an Air Force officer, so we get defense discounts. But there is no point in booking defense discount because the difference is only 1,000 rupees or so. So we would prefer to book the normal fare. Normal as in non-defense fare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. I remember now.
Thank
you. 49,000 for 3 people, Bangalore, Vadodara. Thank you very much. We have a caller from Pune, another very expensive route, just by the way. Yesterday we had a caller from there as well. Akhilesh Singh, go ahead. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Shreya. Basically, I want to highlight 2-3 things over here. Being a flyer for the last 25 years or so as a frequent flyer, typically, if you see Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, and Calcutta, these 4 capitals, typically all airlines are flying around 1 flight per hour. So typically what happens is these are the places where you get the tickets for 6,000, 7,000 because the competition is very high. But throughout the year, if you take any other city, you take Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Pune, anywhere, you'll find the ticket always in the range of 10,000 plus or 15,000 plus. Like the lady just on the call who was saying that I'm getting it for 49K. The reason is this is a very simple strategy. There are only 1 or 2 flights out of each of these cities going out to some other city. And you have no choice. If you want to do a flight, this is what you do. Secondly, typically today when you are every half an hour, 1 hour checking the flight, your IP is getting logged.
Correct.
And basically this is being artificial intelligence through tracked. And typically what you will find is if last time it showed you a fare of 400 rupees, now it will show you 600 rupees. By the time you go to book, that same ticket may be, 900 rupees. So these are a lot of things which are happening. It is not only, suddenly which is there.
That's true.
Is going on from
It happened with us today.
First day.
It happened with us today when we were checking fares. We checked fares at 2 o'clock, we checked fares at 4 o'clock, and then we checked fares at 6 o'clock. And again, the same route, the same airline, fares were going up and down. So, it's so dynamic, you often get confused. Let me get in someone who understands the sector well and understands the airlines well. Mr. Sivaraman, you're a former member of the DGCA. You've also been the Revenue Secretary of India. Can you please help me understand? Okay. I believe Mr. Sivaraman is not with us. So let me quickly try and see if we can go to another caller. I believe we have Siddharth from New Delhi with us.
This is Siddharth from New Delhi.
Go ahead, Siddharth. We can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Basically, what we are saying that the government is saying that it is a deregulated sector. One cannot take it down directly. But what I mean to say is that there has to be steps which the government needs to put in so that the upper rate which is there comes down. It cannot be that once a person is going for last moment, checking last moment boarding because of various reasons. We see the calamities coming, the emergency situations. That cannot be just on the garb of supply demand. It is something like an extortion which is happening. It is actually a very serious issue that now has actually raked up, and it's a very good thing because entire attention of ours is always diverted towards the railway fares. But in the garb of that, the airline fares are going extraordinarily high. So somebody has to chip in. The minister, the aviation minister, cannot be just saying that we cannot do anything. That is my point.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have another caller from Delhi. Shyam, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. I travel almost twice between Delhi and Mumbai every month. And I've been doing it for quite many years. And if I see the trend pre-COVID till now, the fares have gone up almost 2.5 times. And this is irrespective of whether it's a last moment booking or you book in advance. So, 2-3 things which I would like to say where it pinches. Apart from the tickets, the base price going up, the proportional taxes also go up. That is something which is now going up, which is the convenience charges. And you have to pay for everything. You select a seat, you clearly pay 350 rupees to 1,200 rupees, depending on the seat you select. And earlier, the middle seats used to be, for free. Now even that is chargeable. So it becomes very, very difficult for a middle class person to be traveling, and there are no other options because when you travel for work, you cannot use any other mode of transport. So this is nothing but, I would say a deliberate kind of a, situation that the airlines have created, and they're benefiting from that at the cost of flyers. And because the flyers are not in big numbers, unlike railways or, the roadways, the increase doesn't really matter so much because you don't find that kind of protest coming.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have more callers. We'll go across to them. But let me go across to Mr. Damania. Mr. Damania, why aren't we hearing from airlines? Point is that, we did try and reach out to many airlines to send their representatives on the show, or at least tell us why last-minute fares are going through the roof. I'm surprised no one wants to join in?
No, first and foremost, I'm shocked that the airlines did not come on the show. If they had a point to say, they should have come on the show and explained what they're doing, why the fares are so high. Very recently, I'm sure you are aware that the fuel prices were reduced substantially. 6 to 8% fuel prices were reduced.
Absolutely.
So that is more so reason
Let's put that
for
graphic
the
out,
airlines to be more considerate. Previously, the airlines were shouting.
Let's put that graphic out for our viewers, for them to see how fuel prices have actually come down. Go ahead. Continue making your point, Mr. Damania.
So first and foremost, airlines were always shouting fuel prices are very high, fuel prices are very high. It's become unaffordable. Now the government has come forward and reduced fuel price. A lot of state governments have reduced fuel prices considerably. Again, this is from the DGCA figures. These are available to anybody and everybody. Already load factors were very high on all Indian sectors, all Indian airlines. They would be in the range of 80%. Now, again, with the closing down of Go Air, 60 aircrafts have gone out of circulation. So again, the load factors must have gone up in the mid-90s. So first of all, your fares have reduced. You got a tremendous amount of passengers from other airlines who bought the tickets, but you're not going to endorse their tickets. So they'll have to buy new tickets. Plus your load factors have gone up. So I think considering all these factors put together, the airlines need to self-regulate. Yes, the government can step in. And the government, if they step in once, they'll keep stepping in again. It's a free market economy. So I think it's time for the airlines to self-regulate. And if you're asking, can the government do? Government can do anything. If you remember right, when SpiceJet had serious engineering problems, the government told them to fly 50% of the fleet only. Correct. So if the government could go to that extent to tell an airline, so the algorithm, the government can easily say that the highest algorithm, you can't go beyond this point. People are traveling for emergencies, deaths, hospitalization, exams, jobs. So how will they be able to afford this? It's completely unaffordable. 40,000, 50,000, the whole economics are failing. What about poor people who are stranded in different cities, who had booked on Go Air and have to come back? Where will they have the money to buy tickets for 30, 40, 50,000 rupees? I think it's just time for the airlines to be more considerate. Or if they have an issue, they should come forward on your show and put across what they want to say. And I think it's what you are doing by this show is very, very good.
We've been
You're
asking
coming
them.
across for the consumer. It's a very positive sign.
Okay, but I'm just surprised that airlines won't want to respond. I'm sure they have a point of view. I'm sure they have a point of view. We want to hear that point of view.
No,
If
there
you
is
keep declining invitations,
there is,
if you just keep mum and think, the coverage will go away. I mean, how does that...
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the airlines did suffer a lot in the past. I'm not saying no. The airlines made massive losses. This industry is very tough to survive, but at the same time, you cannot cross certain limits. See, today, let's accept one thing. India is a huge success story as far as aviation concerned. Why is India a huge success story? Because the consumer supported you. The consumer brought in the loads by which these airlines succeeded and will keep succeeding in the future. India is the fastest growing aviation market in the world. Airbus and Boeing are completely dependent upon India. Now, if the whole success story is to continue, and our Prime Minister's dream is that every man should be able to fly, let us self-regulate. Let us, manage something and make sure that you do not draw this kind of flack which you're drawing right now. So I think instead of the government coming in and government putting caps, which they did put, the government can put caps. The government can regulate. In the COVID time, they put a lower cap also, that people should not sell below a certain point and people should not sell above a certain point. And the airlines understood and followed that thing. Now the government can come again and do that. We do not want that the government should come forward. So I think the airlines should come forward and self-regulate. The fares are absolutely unaffordable for anybody. It's not even the corporates also feel the pinch. No, even if I've got to send a team of people to Delhi, Bombay, people will think twice.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if I have to book a ticket today, I'd rather think, is there a Vande Bharat? Let me quickly take a Vande Bharat. Or maybe it's more economical to simply drive down. Let me quickly take in 3 more callers. Aryan, you're calling us from Bangalore. Aryan, good evening. Please go ahead.
Good evening.
Aryan, go ahead. I can hear you.
Yes. I don't really, I'm a layman. I don't understand the economics of the airline business. But then according to me, they should keep a base fare and a maximum fare price for each and every flight. And you do it percentage-wise based on the expenses of the each flight so that the company is not affected by the losses also. So that, and then like extreme
We
flight
don't want
costs
our
like
airlines to bleed.
Yes,
I agree
then
with you. We don't want our airlines to breathe, but we need them to be reasonable with us as well. Thank you. Thank you very much for calling us. That's a good suggestion. Aruna, you're calling us from Hyderabad. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. See, I'm speaking from Hyderabad, but this is very personal. I hope you don't mind listening to my story. Actually, what happened about 20 or 15 days back, my son-in-law was nagging my daughter very much, and she was threatening to commit suicide, to hang herself. Immediately, my husband called me up from Vizag and asked me to come. And none of the airlines would say all is full, all is full, all is full. And then when I told them this thing, no one came forward to help. I had to go in the bus. But that time my daughter lost her younger self and passed away. I didn't have a stage to tell, a platform to tell. I thought this is the easiest way to do it. No one helped me at this time.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
When I needed a seat in the
I'm
airline,
so sorry for your loss, ma'am.
When my daughter
I'm just so sorry for your loss. I don't know what to say to you. I'm just so sorry for your loss. And, it is not algorithms that should be deciding things like someone who's in need getting a ticket.
No,
I'm just so sorry for what happened to you and your daughter. And I'm glad you called us. I'm glad you called us. And I hope there is someone from the airline business who's listening to this, that, there has to be humanity above anything else. If there is a woman in need saying this is an emergency travel, give her a ticket. Thank you for calling us. I really don't know what to say to you except to say that I'm extremely sorry that this happened with you and your family. Can I just go across to Avani in Bangalore? Avani, go ahead, please.
Good evening. I would like to express my deep disappointment with what our Honorable Minister has given as an excuse to the passengers, to the citizen. We were hoping that certain strict action would be taken. He would crack the whip. But unfortunately, it was neither here nor there, and airlines have been allowed to continue their exploitative airfare. Madam, I have been traveling from Bangalore to Delhi, Banaras, Lucknow for the last 40 years. I have seen when Air India was flying only, and those days in 2000 tickets used to be 10,000. Then came the times of Deccan Aviation and others. Common man was flying. Today, when you are going to book the ticket for two people, immediately it is becoming 40,000 one way. Can anyone afford it? And the talk of this Go Air going bust and therefore cost going up is also not holding water. Go Air got busted in May. Today we are almost 1.5 months after that, and people have managed to make some alternative arrangements. It is sheer exploitation, and I really hope that the movement which you have started does bring some solace to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Saurabh, I have 10 seconds. And since you are someone who tracks aviation very closely, I hope you can respond to me in 10 seconds. Point is that, you've heard from the viewers. We heard from a viewer from Bangalore who's saying that Hyderabad actually, that when she needed that ticket the most, she didn't get it. And by the time she reached her daughter was dead. I'm just saying that there has to be a certain degree of humanity that needs to be injected in the way airlines operate. A last-minute travel is usually an emergency travel. Don't exploit this opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to make money, but don't take it to a level where people simply can't afford you. People who need that ticket the most cannot afford you. Saurabh, the last caller is telling us that he's very disappointed with what the minister has said today, that it was neither here nor there. The minister also said that all the planes that can fly today are flying. Is that really true? Because in April, to the DGCA, all airlines commit a certain degree of a certain number of flights that can be flown. And at this point of time, all those flights are not up in the air. For example, SpiceJet is only flying to 53% of its capacity. So all the planes and all the flights that can take off are not taking off. That is part of the problem as well.
See, the only immediate solution to this problem is that airlines self-regulate and they bring down their maximum levels of fare. 50,000 rupees of fare is absolutely it's unaffordable in our country. They can say India has the lowest fares, but that's the average, long-term average that you're talking about. If I book my ticket 6 months ahead of my travel, if my airline is alive by the time I have to travel, then I will fly in those fares. So the only way is airlines need to self-regulate and they must bring down their highest level of fares, especially during the peak season. Whether it's a summer season, now it will be followed in a couple of months by the festive season. What you're seeing now could get repeated in a couple of months when the festive season is here, then the peak travel winter season is here. Self-regulation is the only way, because I spoke to several airlines on this issue, and what they're saying is that the government rightly says that the sector is deregulated, and if they want to control fares, then they should nationalize all airlines. Earlier, you guys used to say privatize Air India, and now you're saying that fares are very high, so you nationalize all airlines. So that is the gist of the conversation I've had with airlines. The airlines pointed out that they got no financial help during COVID, and they somehow survived. Some of them survived. Go Air didn't survive, and SpiceJet is having a tough time. They're trying to raise funds and all. So there are issues here, and the only way is airlines have to do some self-introspection, and they have to earn goodwill also. You have to earn money, all right, but you have to earn goodwill of passengers also. That is important. And at this point of time, they are losing goodwill.
Exactly.
There are families who travel.
That's the point. For airlines, your passengers are your biggest assets. Saurabh, that's exactly what. For airlines, your passengers are your biggest assets, aren't they? And if you're losing goodwill so quickly, you may be making profits, but you're losing goodwill. And that could land you in deep, deep trouble. Anyhow, we'll keep this conversation going. I'm just going to thank all of you for joining us. Parvez Damania, thank you very much. Saurabh Sinha, thank you for staying through the show today. And thank you to all our callers for calling us as well. It's a conversation we continue right here on Mirror Now. Let's see how fares do tomorrow. We'll keep a check on that as well. For the moment, it's a wrap from me. Thank you very much for watching. Good night. Nivedana is up next with all the day's top stories.